we go. We have wow, yeah, the big tech earnings coming up. Today is going to really set the tone for a lot of the tech plays that we have. They're going to be major influences. A lot of them don't come out until after the market close. We'll take a look at the earnings expectations and just sort of talk about in general what we think is going on. I got Webull up. I got Coin Market Cap ready to go. Tip ranks ready to go, and then I also have a few Seeking Alpha things that I wanted to share with you. So let me pop up my screen share here. There we are. Make sure that I can see everyone's comments as we take a look on YouTube here. Remember, as I go through and talk today, any company want me to take a look at the chart, tell you what I see. If it's one that I follow, I can talk more about that company and its outlook moving forward and some of the history of it. If it's not one that I follow, I can at least tell you what I see and give some general good advice. Good morning, Bill. Good to have you back. So we have Apple's chart up here right now, and they are one of the companies that is reporting earnings today after the market close. And I wanted to show you something in Seeking Alpha as we look across those. Hello, Orlando. Especially before the market opens here. Not that it directly impacts the open. However, when you look at Apple's chart, you can see that had a run up to about $150 a share, sold off a little bit. There we go. What was the low price that we had here? 142. So down about $8. So 20%, 30%. So like, a couple percent, 3 to 4% or so that it sold off to get back down to there. So let me just check my math on 3, 6. No, it's more than that. It was 6% that it dropped, and now it's back up almost at 150. And then let's look in the pre-market here. Pre-market says that it's taken us up to about $149. So we're still flirting with that 150 mark. And really, we'll have to see as the earnings go today. And remember, these big tech companies will set the tone for pretty much all of tech in the stock market when we take a look at it. Apple showing really good signs of progress, especially with the demand on their 5G iPhones that they have. So for them, we'll see how the results pan out. They've had a lot of upward revisions, and that's actually something we see across Apple, Google, Amazon. When you look at their earnings estimates, it's almost all upward revisions for Q2, and so that's something that's very thematic. So let's go over to Seeking Alpha here, and let me open up Apple. We'll start with them since I have them up on the chart, and I'll shift it around so I can keep good track of it here. So this is Apple fiscal quarter 3 earnings, iPhone September launch, U.S. market strengthening all on 5G. So this is from July 26th. This came out yesterday. When you take a look at that, and we could look through it, I'll come back to some of this information here, but really I want you to see this part right here. About over the last 3 months, there's been 28 upward revisions and no downward for the EPS estimates, and then revenue estimates 23 up and only 2 downward. So Apple's had quite a run of it, and they're actually, I think the analyst estimates of this are still fairly positive from where they're at. I know that for a while there, they were kind of trading sideways for a little bit of time, and then since then we've had a decent run up. So some of this value could have already been priced in, and we could see 1 or 2 things happening once those earnings come out. So those earnings could be everything that we expect, and they could also miss, and then those would be things that would cause it to fall. They could be a significant beat, and honestly, it could still fall. It really depends on what we see carrying forward from there. And really, I bring Apple up more thematically with what we see between Apple, and then I have Alphabet up here, Google, and then there we go. The other one that I have up is Microsoft. So we'll take a look at that one as well. So their fiscal quarter 3. So consensus estimate is $1.01. So we'll watch how that compares. And 73, just over $73 billion. And check that out, up 23% year over year. So that big number that we have comparing back to 2020, I don't know if that's going to be significantly impactful. It'd be nice to look at maybe Q1 to give us a little bit more of an idea. Q1 of 2020, I guess I should say. And look at the Q2 and see how much Apple really got hit as they went into the pandemic there. Product wise, revenue, iPhone revenue, iPad, MacBook, very nice. Wearables, good. All right. Their M1 chip and their M2 chips, as far as using ultra low power but ultra high efficiency, those are things that are really going to power its MacBooks. And I think as people wake up and realize the significance of the new processes that they're making, that's something that also is going to drive demand for Apple. So I think that's just going to be awesome for them moving forward. So revenue seen at 16.32. There you go. And then looks like a regular unveiling in September for Apple, which is typically when they do their unveilings for the next generation. And so for people who follow Apple, you want to check and see if there's any like really revolutionary big news. There keeps on being talk about the Apple Car, and maybe we'll get more information, or maybe we'll get something from them in their September event about an Apple Car. I don't really know that part of it. But we'll keep an eye out for that one. Moving over to Google, just to show you more of those upward revisions. Good morning, Brooke. Awesome to have you here from Niagara Falls. Perfect. And good morning, Orlando. Brooke, I know that I've seen you in the comments throughout the history of my channel, and so it's good to have you here on the live stream commenting as well. So let me scroll down again to the revisions. So here we have this is for Google. We have 22 upward revisions, 1 downward, and then for revenue, 23 upward, 2 downward. So we're sitting in a really good spot for Google. And if we go to Microsoft, so the nice thing about these upward revisions outweighing the downward revisions is that the analysts expect there to be really strong reports coming out of big tech. So 26 upward for Microsoft, 0 downward. Revenue estimates 24 upward revisions, 1 downward. So we should see continued strength for them. And the question as we went into Q1 was whether or not big tech like this, especially where cloud services were involved, or streaming services, if they would take a hit following a rotation out of the pandemic. And so far, it just looks like it's all strength coming out of big tech. As Q1 got reported, and that was through the tech and high growth sell-off that we saw, and that was incongruous with what we know to be the truth. And now that we're moving forward from this, we have a lot of strength with people recognizing and acknowledging the fact that these big tech companies are doing quite well and expect to continue to do quite well. All right, so let's bring up, there we go. Alphabet here, Google. Again, they report aftermarket close today, so we'll have to take a look and see how that performs. Let's go to the daily chart. We have about 4 minutes until we have the market open, so we'll take a look at some of the other stocks then too. And you can see the the ride that Google's taken. This takes us back to February, and they traded sideways for a time, and then they had a bit of a rally, a little bit of a sell-off, and then rallied again. And some of this more recent price action that you see could be anticipation of those earnings, and that could cause us to get a drop following the reporting of those earnings. So I wouldn't be necessarily hugely surprised, because sometimes people price in an earnings beat and a revenue beat ahead of time, and especially when there's a lot of hype and a lot of excitement, and then when they report, then you have some profit taking that follows. So if this does drop even in the face of strong earnings, it's not an area that I would necessarily be concerned or surprised. There you go. And we'll bring up Microsoft. Good entry point for Apple, and that's coming from Faiz. I will take a look at the chart, and we'll see what we have. Just let me mention Microsoft here. Microsoft's chart looking a little bit more looked like it humps on a camel there. A little bit more jumping than what we saw with Google. Really quick rally, a little bit of sideways, and then trade side, sell off and trade sideways. Same thing there, and then finally peaking up. And again, these past few days, look at those last 3 days that we have. So this would be Thursday, Friday, so leading into the weekend. I'm sorry. Looking at here. All right, yeah, I was right. Thursday, Friday, and then Monday. Sorry, I I moved my cursor just as I looked down at the date to make sure that I had it right, and so it jumped a little bit. So going into the weekend, and then coming out into yesterday, and then finally we're into those pre-market hours, and we're rocking about $289 a share still in the pre-market hours. And like I said, we could see some of that profit taking in the after hours, that we could actually see a price drop if we believe that some of the good news, some of the earnings news is already priced into the stock at current levels right now. So that's just some of the big tech stuff. There's a lot of companies that are reporting today. There's a huge amount. These were just some of the ones that I thought would be highlights that would really um, encompass. There we go. I always want to spell the word Apple rather than type in their ticker. There we go. No matter how many times I type in AAPL, I'm like, Apple has two P's. But yeah, so entry prices. Let's look at the analyst estimates on this one. So we're running a little bit rich as per the analyst estimates. And like I said, some of the earnings could already be priced in ahead of time. So with some of the run up that we see, that tends to happen. Then the earnings get announced, and then we get a little bit of profit taking that follows, and it kind of resets us a little bit. So for Apple, 160 is the average analyst estimate. That's over 42 analysts that we have there. We're a minute from market open. Let's see if I can get it into tip ranks here real quick. There we go. All right. That's hesitating for a little bit. It's not tip ranks. It's the fact that I'm live streaming on my laptop, and my laptop it's a little bit underpowered for live streaming. So depending on the success of this channel, if it really does take off enough that it merits another device, I will go out and I will piece together a desktop that has a little bit more oomph to it. All right, so we got new price targets. So as of yesterday, we have buy ratings 160, 175, 150 from Credit Suisse, and then 5 days of 175.85. There's our market open. All right, so we'll go to Apple, check out their market open. So Faiz, good morning, Polly. So for Apple, this is a stock where you don't really take on a lot of risk that you have to worry about it really just bottoming out, because it is I think a $2.2 trillion company. They're huge, they're profitable, they're successful, but really, oh man, there we go. I'm gonna kill off some of these tabs. Maybe it's some of the I don't know if there's something running on Seeking Alpha that's bogging me down, but it's running a little bit slow. All right. All right, so I'll keep talking about Apple while I wait for that to stop hanging up and waiting for that to go through. So these analyst estimates that we see on tip ranks, what I like is that you have this comparison over here from how recent it is, and that you do have a lot of those prices. So 165.50. All right. So look at the analyst estimates here. I guess it depends on what you're looking to do with Apple. So as far as going up in price, the highs that we have right now is 185. So it's running a little bit rich as per the ratings that are up there, 7% up to the average. So, I mean, I guess it depends on how stable of a return how much of a return you're looking for, and the fact that the prices are usually fairly stable. So let's go back. There we go. The chart loaded for us. So we're positive slope 200-day, positive slope 50-day. We're trading up above both of them, very bullish. And we had a little bit of an overbought territory. And then we drop back down just into to a bullish territory when we take a look at the RSI. So if we're looking for entries for Apple, really, I mean, earnings time is a volatile time. So if you're looking to buy, if you're looking for an entry point, when you buy near earnings, especially before the earnings come out, you don't know which way the stock is going to go. And if some of this price action that we see goes along with what we saw with Google and with Microsoft as well, we could see some profit taking that would give you a better entry point. So for me, if I was going to buy some shares of Apple, I think I would want it farther away from that 150. I think I would rather have it around that 140 mark. So if we go back here, as a matter of fact, you can see off the bottom of this candle that we have right here at about 142. So like the low 140s, I think would be a lot more attractive than trying to buy this at 150. because that gives us a very limited upside when we take a look at Apple. And I would certainly take a look at the most recent news you have, which should come out with their earnings. So we get first half news from 2021 and we get second half 2021 expectations that would give us more forward guidance with what we're looking for Apple. So if you're looking for a point of entry, as of right now, based on what has happened, for me, low to mid 140s would be much more reasonable than trying to buy right up against resistance at 150. Really, we just time will tell if we go ahead and break that resistance and move higher from there. But when you buy at resistance, this could be something that can be pushed back down over time. So let's go intraday now that the market's open. All right, so looking intraday, it looks like already we have a little bit of drop in price, but within the first 3 minutes, you're not really going to see a lot of how the rest of the trading day is going to go. Usually by about 10 o'clock, 10:30, especially for a company like Apple, you should start to see it settle down. And the nice thing is with the big market cap companies like Apple is that you don't get that same volatility because it's much harder to manipulate the price of a company like Apple because it takes such significant capital in order to do it versus a company that have a market cap of like 100 million or something like that. That would be much easier influenced by companies where 100 million is not much for them, or even if we have whale investors that would be part of it that would have a couple $5 million, $10 million to throw into something to really get the price to spike because it looks like a huge buying day and then sell when everybody else jumps into it. You just won't get that with Apple. So with Apple, I would certainly hope for a little bit more profit taking if I were going for an entry, just to open a position. And really, if you're going to dollar cost average over time, I would look at the growth potential for Apple in order to really discern that. And waiting until after the report goes, after the earnings go, might give you a better opportunities for entry than trying to do it beforehand, considering that today's the day. All right, so let's take a look at, let's jump over to crypto real quick. We got Polly Wanna Cracker. Says that crypto is still rolling, and yes, it is. So this is a 30-minute chart for Bitcoin. And right now it's priced at about 38.5, almost 38.6. So excellent news for Bitcoin. I'd rather look at it over a longer time horizon. So we'll go out to a daily chart. There we go. So yesterday, when we were looking at the daily chart for Bitcoin, I said that after this sort of run up that we have, that we wanted it to take a little a rest. And I would have liked this candle right here from yesterday to be a little bit narrower of a body, but still the fact that we didn't get over 50% retracement is a good thing. And I said as long as this was not an engulfing candle that swallowed up this one that we had over here, if it did engulf it, that would be more of a sign of resistance that it was going to top out at about 38.5, 38.6, somewhere around in there, and then just come back down and either trade sideways or drop lower. It does look like from what we had here on the opening that we opened around the 50-day moving average for support. We're in the 60s on the RSI, so we have a good bullish momentum going there. And moving over to this next day, this is what I mean by engulfing candle. That yes, we had. I'm going to call it a red candle, even though it's more of a magenta or purplish on my screen. This is just the way crypto shows up on WEBULL. I think I could change the color theme of it, but I do like that it's a little bit different. But this green candle that follows totally swallowed up all this candle, wiping out anything that we saw from the previous day. So what I said was, as long as this doesn't engulf the previous candle and we have, it looks like less than 50% retracement on it, that could be a little resting period, and then we'd have a bit more of a rally after the bulls got a chance to rest. And so far, that's working out for us. So in short term, and this would be people more trading it or looking for short-term points of view. Short term, we're sitting in pretty good shape for this thing to actually turn out to be a full reversal. We're just going to have to wait for time to tell. We could watch this play out over several days where we have either slightly upward or slightly sideways movement setting up maybe a flag or a pennant formation for us. And it would be a bullish flag or bullish pennant. In other words, that it could possibly break out to the upside. Maybe we'll find resistance. We'll have to watch the 200-day and see how that plays out. Breaking 40, I think, would be absolutely excellent bullish confirmation with that whole round number resist happening. And then from there, getting up to 41 to 42,000. So stock to flow model, I talked about it yesterday. No problem, Faiz. I talked about it yesterday with the stock to flow model, saying that, you know, according to that model, by September, we should be hitting around the $85,000 mark, which would put us like 30% above the previous all-time high for Bitcoin. So it's not something that, and again, I'm just talking about the model. I'm not making a prediction here, but the model has held true so far. And so it's a question of whether or not it continues to hold true. The ETFs are going to be a huge part in that. I mentioned that yesterday as well. It's worth reminding people about the ETFs, the fact that I believe there's 14 different applications filed with the SEC right now. And the SEC keeps on giving reasons why they're holding off putting through, and a lot of it comes down to volatility, the lack of store of value still out there. You know, what exactly does the price get based on? So there's a lot of arguments that they put forward towards it, and they don't say no, they just keep delaying their decision. And as soon as you have one ETF breakthrough, then it opens up the floodgates for the other ETFs. So we'll just have to watch what the SEC does. And I feel like the ETFs, the time is coming. I think that honestly, the stalling, it could be for a lot of reasons, but I want to think about how I want to word this here, because I don't want to make it sound like a conspiracy theory. But if businesses need to get themselves ready and in order to invest in Bitcoin and be part of these ETFs, you know, sort of delaying that decision on the SEC end to give the bigger money and the institutions time to really gear up and get themselves set exactly how they want to be positioned before that takes place. To me, that seems reasonable. You know, that there would be enough influence through financial power in order to do that. So watch how it plays out. I'm very bullish on the crypto space, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum is my favorite one. Bitcoin, I think, is going to be more for the institutional and store of value side. Ethereum is going to be more like the everyday transacting business side, especially with the layer 2 solutions that they have. But we could continue to see bullish momentum take place here. We'll have to see how it reacts as it gets near resistance. You can see yesterday for just we can't tell how long, can tell how much is traded just by looking at this one. We can go back and look at an intraday chart, but it did peak up above 40,000 yesterday, but it didn't stay there. As a matter of fact, let me see where this one was. This one came close. So, but that was back on Sunday that came close to that. Let's go to the hourly chart. John, I see your comment there. I'll get to it in just a moment here. There we go. So this is from yesterday, and it looks like about 2 p.m. or so, we got close to the $40,000 mark, but we did no, we did break it that day. $40,000, $15.90, and then during about the, am I looking at that right? Okay, 3 o'clock hour to 4 o'clock hour. I apologize. And by the 4 o'clock hour, we went up to $40,500, and we could look even closer in there. I'm trying to get an idea of how long it traded above 40,000. What about this one? All right, so we moved the next one over, and then we opened at 40,000. Okay, so we broke 40,000, but I mean, that gives us our resistance that we couldn't see so well when we were looking at the daily chart. So it looks like 40,000 is our next big resistance that we hit, and that's what I was talking about for a round number resist. So we'll see as this makes another drive, another attempt at it, see if the bulls have some more room to run and some more energy when they get there to break through that resistance, or if the bears are going to keep smacking them down because they're just too tired from the more recent run that we had. All right, so Collectible John, is Grayscale a good way to get into crypto? So the thing that I will say about Grayscale, there you go. So this is Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, and let me go to the daily chart rather than the 30-minute chart. And you can see the resistance that it hit right around $34 a share on the 200-day that we have here. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is going to move right along with Bitcoin's prices chart. If you know Bitcoin's daily chart, it's going to look very similar. And we had a lot of recent selling news. I believe it was from like an unlock period from the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, wondering if that was going to be something that would really drop the price for it. But overall, the price for GBTC is still very much tied to what Bitcoin does. So if you're going to invest in GBTC, it's not directly owning the Bitcoin. You're just part of that trust in the Bitcoin. So by trading along with those prices, you're not getting that direct exposure. So it's not going to exactly be like Bitcoin. If you have a way to purchase Bitcoin through an exchange, that would be direct access to the Bitcoin, and then you own the Bitcoin, especially if you download it to your own wallet. So get it off the exchange, and then you could also use cold storage from there. There's different options that you have. So I would say the best way, if you're going to invest in Bitcoin, is just to buy Bitcoin. The benefit that you have with GBTC is that you can buy it off the regular exchanges. You can buy it as a security, and so when ARK invests in GBTC, it's because it's a security that they can own, whereas they can't directly hold Bitcoin within their ETF. So that's something that would be the trade-off between the two of them. So if you can't get access to crypto, I would call GBTC the next best way to get a hold of Bitcoin without actually having Bitcoin. But if you actually want Bitcoin, then I would most definitely say, well, then just go ahead and buy yourself some Bitcoin, because I just think that would be better overall. I do have GBTC in my portfolio. I have just a small position in that. ETH is Ethereum Grayscale Trust. And this is going to be tied more to what Ethereum does. And it was running about a tenth the prices of what we saw with Ethereum. And so right now it's at 21.32. And if we check out the price of Ethereum, right now, I don't know if I said a tenth, it's 1/100th. So if I did say a tenth, I apologize. I meant 1/100th. I mentioned about it yesterday in my live stream. And so you can see the 50 period and the 200 period moving averages that we have on here. And we're trading above both of those. 200 is positive. That's bullish. RSI currently putting us in a bullish position. Took a rest yesterday. I was still red, whereas Bitcoin was green. And then today opened much lower, but now it's starting to come back up. So we have a little bit of that movement. And these lines that I have drawn on here are different areas of support and resistance. And we did peak up above it, and we're back up above that resistance. Again, if we can close up here, we're in good shape for support rather than resistance. If it closed below, well, then we're in an area of resistance. Ethereum, August the 4th, which is Wednesday of next week, that's 8 days from now, is when EIP 1559, the London hard fork, is supposed to go live on the mainnet for Ethereum. And that's when we start to get the base speed burn. And I think when people actually see Ether just get burned up because of the transactions, and they see how much is burned based on the transactions, I think that we're going to see some really good price action coming out of Ethereum, but not as good as we'll see when it comes to switching over to proof of stake versus the proof of work that they have right now. Proof of stake being cleaner, that somebody with my underpowered for live streaming MacBook that I have would be able to run a staking node. If I had, I believe I think it's 32 ETH is what it takes in order to do that. So the computing power just isn't. It doesn't have to be enterprise grade, and it doesn't have to be big server farms or anything like that. It really lowers the barrier for entry for proof of stake. And then when they also put in sharding, which really bumps up the transaction times. We're going to lose selling pressure, which will allow the price to go up easier for Ethereum. And so we'll watch that price action play out over time. So I think EIP 1559 is going to be one of our smaller catalysts. And I was just reading an article today about some consensus over the estimates for price for Ethereum. And one number that I read was that the average price that they saw for the end of 2021 was like $4,700. And I didn't read too much about their analysis to find out how much weight I can put into that. But it is intriguing to see what some of the experts have to say in order for this. And then there were some other numbers that were tossed out there as well, talking about getting into 2023 and 2025. And they look astronomical at first glance. And I like to be skeptical because for me, I like to know the low end. And I also like to know that low end is still higher than where we're currently priced if we're looking for it to be growth. So those are just some things to keep in mind. All right. Bill, I think that's an excellent idea. So there's a lot of back-end development there. Thank you. I traded with my 401k. No problem, John. Yeah, so a lot of this chart stuff, it's neat. And one of the reasons that you want to learn about the charts and how to read the charts and why I use the moving averages so much is that a lot of other people and a lot of big money will also use technical analysis in order to drive their decisions. And so when we talk about support and resistance, so talking about this 50-day that we have here acting as an area of support right now, why prices act as support or at certain areas or resistance at certain areas is based on how they're being traded by others. And so to use those same indicators makes a lot of sense that where they're going to make their decisions, you are also making your decisions. It's another way to look at it. So when you see something like a double bottom support here at like $1,700 per share on the daily chart for Ethereum, this is one of those signals that you have for really decent support. Especially, it would be nice if this came up a little bit more, but we had the next day come in and fill in for us. So just some things to think about. So as you look through that, Investopedia is actually really nice for giving explanations, key takeaways. So while I wouldn't say that making a class would be off the table, it does take some time for development. And then there's also the question of how exactly I would put that out there. All right, let's get back to some of the stocks that we have. All right. Woo. All right. Let's excuse me. So Marathon. There we go. Just a nice transition to go from crypto. This is still Marathon Digital Holdings, so this is still related to crypto, and you can see the big gap up that it had yesterday, and then today we see some of that settling a little bit, which would be absolutely normal after a pretty big jump, a 20% jump. Moving over from that over to Xpeng, the Chinese stocks are just going to have a rough time based on what the Chinese government's doing right now. But if you look at this 200-day that we got for Xpeng, and we look at today's chart, we're actually sitting. Not only do we have this cross with the 50-day going back up over the 200, which is a good bullish confirmation, we're also above both moving averages, and we're sitting on them sort of as support. So that could give us a nice entry point for Xpeng, a good day to dollar cost average. But it all depends on what you believe coming out of China, and what's going to happen with Chinese company wanting to be on the Hong Kong exchange. I believe Xpeng is one that is going to achieve dual listing status. I'd have to check the news on it and see. Li Auto gets clearance for listing on Hong Kong exchange. That's good for Li. I think Xpeng also got that. I'd have to go through and take a look at it. There we go. All right, so Xpeng, fairly good shade that we have here. NIO is my favorite coming out of the Chinese EV plays. Xpeng is the second. There we go. Neo's still trading in the low 40s. So for me, for my positions, I did check up on this. I have two separate positions in Neo right now. One is at about $46. The other one's at about $42 for where I currently have those positions for my cost basis. And I think they balanced out to around $43 per share. So a little bit in the red on that one. And you can see that we've broken down below support, down below the moving averages. But they are still positively sloped. You can look at the RSI below 50. And so there we also are slightly in bearish territory. And there's just Neo, I think, is good with the Chinese government. They have the support of the Chinese government, and they're going to want this company to be successful. And I believe that they trade both on the Hong Kong Exchange and New York Stock Exchange. So I don't think that they're being affected in the same way that some of the other companies are. DD, I think, is the one that gets the most notoriety right now for that. Load up points for this below 40, I think would be absolutely excellent. When you see this candle over here come down and just almost tag, let me see, low price, $40.48. So $40, if we go below that, because I am bullish on Neo and I believe that they are really going to rally strong. And there's a lot of analysts that also support that idea that they'll go back up between like 50 and 60, some say almost to $70 within the next 12 months. So from right now, the pricing is fairly attractive. To watch it drop below $40, I think really gets you into load up. If it hits 35, that'd be heavier, and then below 35 would be extraordinary opportunities. But again, that's because of my bullish perspective on Neo. For people who don't have that same sort of conviction, or who would be more bearish on it, then well, that gives you more of an answer on how you should trade it. People who would be bearish on Neo would certainly see its current valuation and its current market cap and believe that it's too big, that it's not worth the price that you're paying. But there is a lot of fundamental value that's already priced into Neo that makes the higher multiple that it's trading at make a lot more sense. When you look at the growth of the EV space and Neo being one of the leaders in that EV space, especially coming out of China, their expansion into Europe, and the speculation of them moving into, and I did say speculation of them moving into the United States at some point, which is a very large market, and there's a lot of fans in the United States for Neo as well. So we'll just take a look at that. All right, let me see. Can you please share the name of the software? Yeah, so this is the software that I'm using right now is called WEBULL, and this goes out to Jupiter. Haha, great name. So Jupiter, this is WEBULL, and I'm using their customized view, and I like it in dark mode because they have it where you can have a white background, and my eyes are pretty and blue and sensitive to light. So and the whole pretty comment, I always talk about how pretty my eyes are. As a joke, I like to make narcissist jokes, but I'm a very humble person, but the jokes are funny. But anyway, moving on. So this is WEBULL. I have a link to it in the description for this video, or any one of my videos. You can click on it, sign up. You get some free stocks for a sign up and a deposit. I think they may have lowered it down to $5 from $100. And then it also helps me out. So if you like what I do here and you want to support me by giving me absolutely nothing other than clicking the referral link, if you're going to download and sign up for WEBULL, you get free stuff. And because I did the referral, I get free stuff. And so that would cost you absolutely nothing to me. So it's a nice way it's better than free because you actually get paid for signing up and depositing for WEBULL. And then I also get paid. So it's a win-win for both of us. So yeah, WEBULL is the name of it. And I think as far as an entry-level software, when you look at this, I think that it does a really nice job, and they're doing updates to it all the time. I think about weekly or bi-weekly, they update the software, and I've been pleased that some of the bugs and the issues that I've had over time have really seemed to smooth out, and it seems to run a lot faster on my computer than it used to. And you get really clean, easy charts. And I also have Thinkorswim through TD Ameritrade. And while I like it because it's super powerful, I just don't think it's as clean as it could be. I think that they have a little bit more work to do on the polished side of things for Thinkorswim, whereas Webull has a very polished and very easy to use user interface. No problem, Jupiter. Do you think it's possible to see Tesla at $600 again? All right, so I did bring up Tesla here. So Tesla, I had these lines drawn on here for a little while now, and we keep popping up above this top line that I have drawn on here, and maybe it's worth adjusting that a little bit as time has played out. Maybe not, I don't know. In any case, as this narrows, we typically tend to get a breakout either to the upside or the downside. So right now, let me zoom in more. Whoa, that's way too much. There we go. This is good. So there's this orange line right here, and I traced along it because I know color blindness is a real thing. But you can see recently it's been acting as decent support for us for Tesla's stock price moving forward. It's been consistently around the mid sixes for the past few trading days. Even if we go all the way back here, the only day that we really dipped below was 7/19, which was Monday of last week. And that was just a really big sell-off day for the market in general. We saw a lot of really low prices that day, but we did come through and closed above it again. So even though there's a large part down here, we still popped right back up again and we closed above. So we're still acting as support for the 200-day. So maybe that could continue for us. As this narrows, we'll just have to see how that plays out. Check out the 50 period starting to curve up for us. So a positive slope on the faster moving average. The orange is the slower moving average. And really watching those turn to a golden cross would be a good thing. Elon Musk talked about their earnings recently. I think that they had, for the first time, over $1 billion in net earnings. I think it was 1.1 billion. So strong reports. Discussed getting really impacted by the semiconductor shortage, and I don't know that any of us are surprised on that. That Tesla has been negatively impacted by that, and then the Tesla Semi and the Cybertruck are both being somewhat hindered in their release dates for that. So push us back into next year, I think, and then we'll have to watch how they play out over time. As far as getting below 600, so to get to Fai's question that he has here. Will Tesla get back below 600? I think it's such a high evaluation, and now and it's also so darn popular, and there's also so much potential coming out of Tesla. It's this weird balancing act, right? That it seems to kind of be unsteady, unstable, and so we get some volatility that comes out of it. And watching it trade below 600. Let me see where the 600 line is, right here. So it wasn't that long ago that we were below 600. And if I put my cursor back here, we're back into about the middle of May when EV and tech started turning around. Those growth companies started turning around. So it took a lot of selling pressure to push us down below 600 in the first place. If we get huge inflation news that it carries on longer than expected, or we get microchip semiconductor shortages that are worse than we thought that they were, that we didn't rotate out as well as we thought we would, that there's going to be further delays. There's a lot of news that can mess around with Tesla's price. And I would say, anything's possible. We could see it below 600 again. We want to watch this narrowing. I'll zoom back out so we can see the lines that I've drawn on here. We don't know if it's going to break to the upside or the downside, but typically when you have a narrowing like this, where you have the bulls and the bears fighting each other and they start squeezing in, one of them tends to win, and it tends to push the other one pretty strongly in the direction of the winner. So if it's the bears that win this fight, as this narrows down, as this pinches together, then we could see a fairly strong drop to the downside. When I say fairly strong, 3%, 5%, or depending on the news, if there's a news or some sort of catalyst that causes that snap, and it's one that would be bearish, what from right now, 10% down would push us down below 600, and that would have to be some fairly negative news coming out in order to be that strong. I'd say 3 to 5% is more likely, and then it would be the same thing for the upside, and 5% would actually put us closer to that $700 mark. So I think from here, I could honestly see it going 5% one way or the other way when it finally does break out from where it currently sits. Endless estimates on this all over the place, from a low of $67 up to a high of 14. Those are so far apart, and Tesla just has to continue to perform and impress. And those are things that are going to keep the price up where it is. And we do want to keep tabs on how they navigate this semiconductor shortage that's impacting the entire automotive industry and tech industry wherever semiconductors are involved. And that's pretty much through every part of what Tesla does. So we'll see how that goes and see how they handle it. I did see that they're doing some reprogramming to reduce the amount of semiconductors that are needed for some of their vehicles. I didn't get a chance because I just saw that this morning when I was getting some other stuff prepared. I saw the headline for it. So if that's the case, and if that could make them a little bit more nimble in getting through the shortage until we really get that ramp up period for semiconductors. All right. So yes, to summarize, possible to see below 600. I think it would have to be. It could be something on the macroeconomic scale that would really, something in the bigger overall market that would be news that would push it down that far. Otherwise, I would say, that mid 600s to 700s in the short term. I don't see it dropping below 600, but I also don't see it pushing up above 700 without some sort of catalyst to move it in either direction. All right. So talked about companies that are very, very big. And a shout out to some people who have been following me from the early days of this channel. BNGO is one that I did some coverage on just because I saw some news about it and I was pretty excited about it, and genomics was hot at the time. So BNGO, super small company. They're a growth company. They're ones that have not hit profitability, and their earnings, I don't remember exactly when the earnings are coming out, but they do have a conference that they're part of from August the 1st to August the 4th. And so let me see, I think that's Sunday to Wednesday is when they're part of that. And I think there's 10 different presentations that talk about the use of their Sapphire system and talk about the efficiency of it. And really we'll want to see how that plays out. Let me go to the news so I can reference the specific headline. So an hour ago, 2 hours ago. So Globe News Wire. So this would be a press release from the actual company, and then Ben Zinga also had that. There you go. BNGO reports a number of presentations on optical genome mapping. So they'll call that OGM between August the 1st and August the 4th. And like I said, I think that it's 10 of them. There it is. Features 10 presentations by BNGO's Sapphire customers highlighting the benefits of OGM for clinical research applications in solid tumor analysis, hematological malignancies, products of conception, prenatal and postnatal constitutional genetics. So really cool stuff, and really furthering. BNGO needs that hard research to drive their market adoption and to push them from the testing phase to more the diagnosis and treatment side. If they make it into diagnosis and treatment, we will really see them take off. And then there's also single nucleotide variations. What do they call those? SNVs, I think is how they refer to them. So if they can get down to the single nucleotide level, and if they get to diagnosis and treatment rather than out of just the research side of things, those are things that are the ifs, the questions, the things that are really going to be drivers for BNGO as a company, or Bionanogenomics as a company. Also, the overall genomic space and healthcare has been down, but this is one I bring it up now. First of all, I like the company. I can certainly get behind what it does for medicine, or what it can do, I guess I should say, and the potential for it. And I really want to see strong things coming out of it. And you can see it did stop out before it got to the 50-day. But with the price sitting on support like it is now, I bring this up today because we could see it bounce off the support that we have here, and we could see some decent price action coming out of BNGO. So as long as the market cooperates, that we have strong Russell 2K, Russell 3K, some of the small cap indices moving for this, because it's not going to move the same way that the NASDAQ, S&P, and the Dow Jones would. But as long as we have decent marketplace in our favor, bouncing off support here, if support holds, moving into that news for those presentations, we could see some positive price action later in this week, moving more towards the rumor side of things. It could also be the news that we have coming out being things that really spark some upward momentum for us for BNGO. And I do like that we're currently sitting at like an area of support for this one. It would be anything BNGO because it is such a small company. You got to watch out because it is high risk. They are pre-profitability. They don't make any money yet, and instead they lose money. And we actually have a bearish indicator right now in the RSI that a lot of the momentum's out of it, and that it's more a downward movement recently than it is upward. So just some things to keep in mind. I don't want to make it sound like it's all sunshine and rainbows and hey, buy, because I can't tell you to buy or sell anything. So I won't. I can only talk about myself and I can tell you the things that I see, but I can't tell you what to do. So for this one, if I was going to make a swing trade on this, given the news that's coming up and that we've seen news move before around the conferences that we have for BNGO, with its current price that it has, this would be a time that I would think that, and when I say when I would think, I mean, I actually am thinking that maybe I do want to make a swing trade. I do have a long-term position in BNGO, so something for their fundamentals, but I would also possibly take up a swing trade position for myself that, would take advantage of the price that it's at right now, sitting on support, and then also for the catalyst of those presentations coming up in the next week. So in the past, we've seen presentations that discuss the usefulness, kind of spurring on that price action, that positive momentum before. So maybe to take a little bit of advantage of that and maybe, get some lunch money for a few days worth of holding my money, tying it up in a company like this one. But there's always that risk. So we want to be careful for that risk, and you always want to protect your downside. So if I did this as a swing trade, I'd be purchasing it, and then I would also keep on that maybe 10% to just be careful that I wouldn't get shaken out of it so easily. So maybe down to like the 520 or so, but that would also mean that I was looking for a 20% upside if I was giving it a 10% room for downside, because I would rather trade in a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio, where I'm looking for twice the reward, but only half the risk. All right, guys, it's moving on to 10:10. And my goal is always to end at 10 o'clock. So just so that we're absolutely clear and certain about that, anything I do beyond 10 o'clock is just time where I've extended it because I talk too much and I get excited about these things. If you guys want me to take a look at any other companies, make sure that you mention those companies in the comments. I'll wrap things up at 10:15, so about 5 minutes from now. I'll wish you guys a good day from there. Let's check in with Lucid in the meantime. Like I said, if there's a ticker that you want, something you want me to talk about, pop it into the comments and I'll do that. And if it's a company I know about, I can talk more. If it's one I don't know about, well, we can see what we can learn from at least looking at the charts and looking at some analyst estimates if it's a big enough company to have that. So Lucid had a wonderful trading day yesterday. Today, it looks like we're getting an engulfing candle that's coming back down and sort of settling that price a little bit. So what I've said in the past was I see Lucid as being right now's price, low to mid 20s. And once they start hitting production and they start hitting deliveries, I would say mid to high 20s, maybe even up to like that $30 mark. Those are things that I feel are possible for Lucid moving forward from here. So yesterday I got a little bit rich, a little bit fast. And I said in yesterday's live stream, that the market aims to make a liar out of me. So it did. And then today it's correcting a little bit and it's coming back down to that high 20s. I'm sorry, mid 20s. I was thinking high 25s. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got a little bit more correcting if we settle back down towards this 50-period moving average as we settle for Lucid. It's just going to be volatile. There's a lot of the news that can influence and everything. Really, we want to watch those. The numbers that they have right now, I believe it's 11,000 is the current number of reservations that we have for Lucid. And if that goes up, well, that's good news for their stock price, because it's showing a higher demand. We also need to look at their ability to meet that demand. So how long will it take for them to fill those orders? Are those orders going to be things that actually turn into deliveries? So they're also going to be affected by the semiconductor shortage. And being a new company, how well will they manage it? Is that going to be something limiting? to them as they open. So they do have some headwinds, but I think it is a company to be excited about. It's another one that I have a position in. So I'm long on Lucid. I think my cost basis right now, I sold my original position because of all the run up that we had pre-merger. And I talked about that yesterday too. So I do have a long position in Lucid. So like I said, my cost basis right now is about $26. And that's actually, believe it or not, fully funded on profits from the last time that I sold. So if I look at my year, my 2021 cost basis for Lucid, it's it's much lower. I can actually lose my entire position. They can go to zero and I'd still be profitable from what I had before. So what happened was I had this around $18 when we saw some more of the hype. So that would be way back. Holy cow. So 18 something around that time that hype came out. And then I sold a third of my position around $54. And then I sold out the rest of my position at like $37. And then I bought back in probably a little bit too soon because I didn't realize the magnitude of the sell-off that we're going to have. That I didn't think that would last all the way until May. But it did last all the way until May. But so I'm sitting in a nice position for Lucid. And if it wasn't for so much hype and run up, I would have held on to my original position. And I'm going to have to, while there is taxes based on the profits that you make, I should be able to wash some of that out with selling off some of my other ones that did not perform so well. So we'll have to see. How do you see bonds prices affecting shares? And a class on how to analyze, please. All right, so Bill, I will entertain the idea of classes on the analysis and make some videos and post those up there. I think that would be something reasonable that I could put out there. And then let me see, Tim, Nicholas, how do you see bond price affecting shares? Well, so for the bonds market, if that's what you're describing, so the bonds market, depending on what the interest rate goes up to, if it's giving a higher return than what you could find in the equities market that we would have with stocks, then that's going to take away from the stocks. So the bonds market could negatively affect the stock market in that way, and it could cause downward pressure on the stock prices that we would see, and that would be broadly affecting. And if it's one where the interest rates stay low on bonds, that it wouldn't be attractive compared to what we would, excuse me, wouldn't be attractive according to what we get in the equities market, then my goodness, I need to bring some water in with me. Then what we would see is more strength with the stocks, with the bonds. So they're going to keep acting inversely to one another. So if we see weakened bond prices, we see strengthened stock prices, and vice versa. If we strengthened bond prices because of attractive yields on those bonds, then we see a depressed stock market as a result. So they're just going to have that sort of back and forth as they've always had. And that's just going to continue happening over time. Let me see. All right. It's 10:16. I just wanted to take a quick peek at charge point. There's a line that I drew. I'm not sure when I drew that, probably when we saw this candle down here. And as of right now, we've actually dropped below that. So we're looking a little bit on the bearish side for the recent price action. That last run up that we saw up to 36 has quickly sold off down to 2022. And I believe that we are significantly de-risked. We have like another 15% down before we hit really, really, really hard support from the most bearish of times since charge point has been charge point. So 15% downside, and there are significant upsides. When you look at the analyst estimates on this, we are trading below every analyst estimate that we have covering this. And I've talked about it on tip ranks as well. And so we'll see as their earnings come out and as their guidance come out for charge point. All right, 10:17. What happened in the market? It's all red. There we go. Check that out. So Bill, I'm running out of time here for my live stream portion of this because I do have some business that I have to get to. But I will say this, tomorrow is the FOMC meeting, and followed by Jerome Powell coming out and talking about the things that they've discussed and the consensus coming out of the FOMC. So that's Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern time. some of the market that we see could be anticipation of what takes place tomorrow. There could be some other catalyst that's pushing this down. I don't know because I didn't check the news on this since I've been live streaming. But that's just something to keep in mind when we look at this. So where were we at? NASDAQ down over 1%. That's huge. S&P not 1%. So NASDAQ's taking it extra hard. So especially because it's the NASDAQ where you find a lot of your tech stocks, especially big tech. Some of it could be earnings and anticipation of earnings. It could be some of the profit taking ahead of earnings. It could also be the FOMC, their meeting tomorrow, along with Jerome Powell speaking tomorrow, that this would be set up in anticipation. So we could get some sort of compounding coming out of there. So we'll have to see what he says about inflation looking forward and the state of the economy looking forward. So I think that you're going to have a lot of eyes for financial markets are going to be on and ears open to what Jerome Powell has to say tomorrow and the current state of the economy as the FOMC pictures it and how inflation is looking going forward from there as well. All right. Well, thank you guys for attending. I really appreciate it. I see our concurrent viewers up to 23. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but that is significantly up. That's up almost 50% from where we were at yesterday. So thank you for coming. Thank you for commenting. I really appreciate everything that you guys do to support this channel. Hit the like button if you would on my videos, help them get up ranked and help other people find them and get over here. And I really look forward to growing this with you guys. And yeah, just thanks a million. I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I'm going to wrap up for the day. I hope that you have a great day and keep your eyes on those earnings today in the afternoon coming out of big tech, as that will be a huge indicator of what we see going on with the NASDAQ and some of the tech stocks coming out for the Russell that are also there. And then also FOMC tomorrow at 2 p.m. Is also going to be another place. And we could see the rest of how the week goes determine on what we hear tomorrow after 2 p.m. So expect anything until then. All right. No problem, Bill. No problem, everybody. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow for the live stream.